Here's something that messes with my head every time I think about it. The same person who will spend 45 minutes comparing two $12 phone cases on Amazon will sign a loan agreement in under 10 minutes without reading a single clause. That's not a made-up scenario. That was me. 23 years old, first real job, first real salary. And I treated money like it was a problem to solve later, like something future Adam would handle once things got more stable, more settled, more something. The thing is, future Adam showed up, and he had the same habits, the same blind spots, and an extra 5 years of damage to undo. My name's Adam, and what I want to talk to you today isn't about getting rich fast or some 7-step formula someone invented to sell a course. It's about the 5 money mistakes that kept me and keep most people completely stuck. Not broke in a dramatic Hollywood kind of way. Stuck in that quiet, frustrating way where you're earning okay money and somehow still not getting anywhere. Let's get into it. Mistake 1. Treating your income like it's your wealth. Okay, so wait, I need to rewind for a second. I remember the exact moment I got my first proper paycheck. Not a part-time thing, not a stipend, an actual grown-up direct deposit. I think I stood in my kitchen holding my phone, staring at the number, and felt something I can only describe as arrived, like I'd made it. I called Lewis. I said, "Bro, I made it." Lewis said, "Made what?" I said, "Money, real money." He goes, "How much is left after rent?" I didn't answer because I hadn't thought about it yet. And that's the first mistake, and honestly the most seductive one, confusing your income with your actual financial position. Your salary is not your wealth. Your salary is a recurring event. Wealth is what's left after that event passes through your life. Here's a number that should bother you. The average American household earns around $74,000 a year. The average American household has less than $1,000 in liquid savings. That gap between what comes in and what stays is where most people live their entire financial lives without ever questioning it. When I started actually looking at my numbers, not the number on payday, but the number at the end of the month, it was humbling. I was earning well, I was accumulating almost nothing. And the reason wasn't that I was spending on crazy things. It was that I never distinguished between my income and my net position. I felt rich when I got paid. I felt broke 2 weeks later. Neither feeling was actually about wealth. Both were about cash flow, which is a completely different thing. The shift that changed this for me, I stopped asking, how much do I make, and started asking, how much do I keep? Every month, like a ritual. Because income without retention is just an expensive lifestyle with a good salary attached to it. There's something quietly devastating about realizing you've been running for years and haven't moved. Mistake 2. Spending money you haven't decided to spend. Lewis texted me a few months ago. Bro, I think I need a new laptop. I asked him why. He said the one he has works fine, but he keeps seeing ads for the new one. I said, so you don't need a new laptop. You're just being advertised to. Silence. Then, yeah, okay, fair. This is the sneaky one, because it doesn't feel like a mistake when you're in it. It feels like living your life. Spending money you haven't consciously decided to spend. That's different from impulse buying. Impulse buying is dramatic. You see a thing, you want it, you get it. What I'm talking about is subtler. It's all the spending that happens in the background of your life that you never actually sat down and approved. Subscription services you forgot you had, the $8 here, the $14 there. The it's only purchases that stack up silently. The eating out that happens not because you chose it, but because you didn't choose not to. There's a term behavioral economists use, passive spending, and it's responsible for a terrifying percentage of the average person's monthly outflow. Here's what helped me. Once a month, I used to do this on Sunday nights, honestly a little depressing, don't recommend Sunday. I'd go through every transaction in my account and label it. Not judge it, just label it. Did I decide to spend this, or did it just happen? The first time I did this exercise, I found almost $340 a month in spending I had never actually decided to do. Subscriptions I'd forgotten, auto renewals, habits disguised as convenience. That's over $4,000 a year, not going into investments, not building anything, just evaporating. And I'll be honest, I don't think you need to track every dollar obsessively. I've told people before that budgeting too tightly creates its own anxiety, and I stand by that, sort of. Actually, no, let me walk that back. The tracking part matters. The obsessing over every coffee part doesn't. There's a version of financial awareness that's healthy and a version that makes you miserable. What you want is clarity, not punishment. The goal is just to make your spending deliberate. Every dollar should have your signature on it, not your bank's, not a subscription you signed up for in 2021. Yours. The moment you take back control of your spending decisions, even before the numbers change, something in you settles, like you've stopped being a passenger in your own financial life. Mistake 3. Waiting until you have enough to start investing. I used to think investing was something you did after you sorted everything else out. After the debt, after the emergency fund, after you had a clear picture, after things stabilized. I was waiting for a starting line that doesn't exist. You know what's funny? My mom used to say something about cooking. She'd say, you don't wait until the kitchen is perfectly clean to start making dinner. You cook and you clean as you go. I used to think she was just talking about the kitchen. She was not just talking about the kitchen. The math on this one is brutal. Not brutal in a scary way, brutal in a why didn't anyone tell me this in school way. If you invest $200 a month starting at age 22, and you stop completely at age 32 and never touch it again, just let it sit, you will end up with more money at retirement than someone who starts at 32 and contributes $200 a month every single month until they retire. Same investment, completely different outcome. 10 years of head start beats 30 years of trying to catch up. That is compound interest, and it only works if you start. The mistake isn't failing to invest a lot. The mistake is waiting until you can. Because until I can is a moving goalpost. There will always be a reason to delay. The car needs something, the rent went up, the timing isn't right. And every month you wait is a month that money could have been working for you, quietly, in the background, without you doing anything. Now, I'm not saying throw money into the market when you have zero savings and actual urgent debt. That's a different conversation. But the I'll start when things calm down mentality is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. Things don't calm down. You just get older. Start small if you have to. Embarrassingly small. $50 a month is not nothing. It's a habit. And habits are worth more than amounts. Mistake 4. Using debt to fund a lifestyle, not a future. Here's a thing that almost no one tells you clearly when you're young and newly employed and the credit card offers start arriving. Debt is a tool. Tools can build things. Tools can also destroy things. The difference is what you're using them for. There's a version of debt that makes you wealthier, a mortgage on a property that appreciates, a business loan that generates returns above its interest rate, a student loan for a qualification that genuinely improves your earning potential. These aren't perfect examples and they carry risk, but the core logic is you borrowed money to create more money. Then there's the other kind, the kind most people accumulate in their 20s and sometimes their 30s, the I'll pay it off next month kind. The credit card balance that never quite reaches zero, the buy now, pay later for something you wore twice, the personal loan taken out because the holiday felt necessary. This debt funds nothing. It doesn't produce, it just converts your future income into your past experiences. I went through a period, I was maybe 25, 26, where I had what I'll politely call a complicated relationship with my credit card. I told myself it was fine because I was building credit. And technically that's true, but I was also building a habit of living slightly beyond my means, which is a very easy habit to build and an extremely hard one to stop. The average American carries around $6,500 in credit card debt. The average interest rate on that debt is somewhere north of 20%. Do that math. That's almost $1,300 a year in interest alone. That's not a payment towards anything. That's the price you pay for already having spent money you didn't have. The question to ask yourself, and I mean actually sit with this, is what is this debt funding? If the answer is lifestyle, convenience, or something you can't specifically remember in 3 months, that's the mistake. Not the debt itself. The mismatch between what you're borrowing and what it's supposed to do for you. Lewis, to his credit, figured this out before I did, and I'm not too proud to say that. He paid off about $8,000 in credit card debt in 18 months while I was still convincing myself mine was manageable. He didn't earn more than me, he just got serious about what his debt was actually costing him. Not just in dollars, in time, in stress, in options he didn't have because of the monthly minimum payments eating into his income. When you pay off debt that was funding nothing, it's not just financial relief. It's like setting something heavy down that you'd gotten so used to carrying you'd stop noticing the weight.
Actually, I want to stop here for a second because I think there's something that gets lost in these conversations about money. All of this, the mistakes, the fixes, the habits, they happen inside a life, a real, messy, non optimized life. And I think sometimes financial content treats humans like they're supposed to be these perfectly rational machines who just need the right information and they'll make perfect decisions. That's not how people work. That's not how I work. I know what compound interest is. I knew it when I was in my mid 20s. I still waited too long to start investing because knowing and doing are genuinely different skills. Knowing comes from information. Doing comes from something closer to identity, who you believe you are, what you think you deserve, what your relationship with money even looks like. My household growing up, money was this background stress that nobody talked about directly. It was felt, not discussed, and that shapes you in ways that a YouTube video can't completely undo. I'm not saying that as an excuse, I'm saying it because if you watch this and recognize yourself in some of these mistakes and feel some kind of shame about it, don't. Understanding the mistake is the starting line, not the finish line. Okay, fifth one. This is the big one. Mistake 5, having no plan for where your money is supposed to go. I want you to imagine filling a bathtub with the plug out. You can turn the tap on as high as you want. You can get the most premium water. You can even add the fancy bath salts. But without the plug, it all drains away. And at the end of the day, the tub is empty. That's what it looks like to earn money without a plan for where it goes. And I want to be careful here because I think financial plan sounds intimidating and formal, like something you need a certified advisor and a mahogany desk for. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the most basic, fundamental thing, deciding in advance what happens to your money before your money decides for itself. Because money without direction doesn't sit still. It moves. It flows toward whatever pull is strongest in your environment. The ad you saw, the thing your friends are doing, the thing that makes you feel okay for an hour. Money is almost weirdly obedient to your environment if you haven't given it explicit instructions from you. The simplest framework I actually use, not the fanciest, not the most optimized, but the one that didn't make me want to close the spreadsheet after 5 minutes, is what some people call percentage-based allocation. Every time money hits my account, a percentage goes to savings before I see it. A percentage goes to investments before I see it. What's left is what I live on, not the other way around. Not spend, then save whatever's left, because whatever's left is almost always nothing. And that's not a math problem, it's a psychology problem. When money sits in a checking account, it looks available, and available money gets used. The plug in the bathtub is a system. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be perfect from day one. But without it, it doesn't matter how high you turn the tap. Lewis and I had a conversation about this maybe a year ago. He'd started doing this, automating his savings and investments right after payday. And he said something that stuck with me. He said, "I don't feel poorer, I feel like I have exactly enough, and I also have more money than last month." That's the paradox of having a plan. You don't feel like you're restricting yourself, you feel like you're actually going somewhere. And that feeling of direction, of forward motion, even when it's slow, is genuinely different from anything you get from spending. It's quieter, less immediately satisfying, but it lasts. No hype, just honest talk. Okay, so we've been through 5 mistakes. Treating income like wealth, spending without deciding, waiting to invest, using debt to fund a life file, and having no plan for where your money is supposed to go. I'm not going to run through those again as a bullet list because honestly, if any of them landed for you, you already know which one. You felt it somewhere in your chest when you heard it. That recognition is the thing. That's the moment that actually matters. What I'll say instead is this. None of these mistakes make you bad with money. They make you normal with money. Normal meaning you grew up in a world that taught you how to earn and almost nothing about how to think. A world that marketed spending to you aggressively since you were old enough to watch television, and offered you almost zero meaningful education in return. You weren't set up perfectly. You're figuring it out now. That's not a failure arc. That's just how most of this actually goes. The version of you that gets this right doesn't have some special gene for discipline or some childhood where someone sat them down and explained compound interest over dinner. The version of you that gets this right just started. Started messy, started small, started with one plug in the bathtub before worrying about anything else. If you got anything from this, go plug one thing. Just one. Automate $50 into savings this week. Go through your subscriptions tonight. Pay off one thing that's been sitting there. Don't try to fix everything at once. That's the other mistake nobody talks about. Trying to revolutionize everything in one sitting and then burning out by Thursday. One thing. This week. That's enough to start with. I'll see you in the next one.